And horror spill over on the streets of Toronto.
And so we wanted to bring the community together to both mourn for the people we've lost, to pray for the people that are still being held hostage. We're live at a somber scene in North York as Toronto's Jewish community holds a vigil tonight to mark the bloodshed in Israel. The counter-protesters who showed up as police announce at least 4 arrests.
Was doing his job when he was involved with these individuals who in turn shot and killed him.
Plus, a security guard shot dead at the Pickering Casino. What police are saying tonight about what led to the 34-year-old's death.
They can come in and have a meal, get some support, and see that they're loved and appreciated in our community.
And combating fear with love, how some in Windsor are breaking bread to break queer stigma this Thanksgiving. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Thanks for joining us on what has been a difficult Thanksgiving for many people. Israel is pressing ahead with its fierce counteroffensive in Gaza after a brutal attack by Hamas in southern Israel over the weekend. Around 900 people in Israel have been killed and nearly 700 people in Gaza, according to officials on each side. As the horrors of the violence became clearer today, millions of people protested in capital cities around the world, including, of course, thousands here in Toronto. Earlier today, there was a rally showing support for Palestinians. We'll show you what that looked like in just a moment. But tonight, the focus shifted to Mel Lastman Square, where a pro-Israeli rally was taking place. Anam Khan joins us live from that location. Anam, what is the latest from where you are tonight?
Right, so Chris, right behind me just a few hours ago, there were thousands of people over here, and it was a very peaceful protest until over an hour or so ago, Toronto police arrested 4 people. And emotions were really high today. Mayor Olivia Chow was even booed tonight. So just by looking at the events a few minutes and hours ago, you can tell how high the emotions were.
In the wake of recent attacks, thousands of people gathered in Toronto's Mel Lastman Square singing and praying for the people of Israel.
We're here not because we're here to kill, we're here to pray, to get people to do acts of goodness and kindness. We want women to light Shabbat candles. We want men to put on tefillin.
They listened to stories from people in Israel.
My cousin Mia has been missing for 48 hours. She was in the rave party near Gaza. We haven't heard from her ever since.
Thousands ran for their lives at an outdoor techno music festival near the Gaza-Israel border Saturday when it was attacked by Hamas. About 260 bodies were recovered, but Torontonian Shai Weinstein was able to run to safety.
We went from partying and having fun and enjoying music and each other's company and friends and making new friends to running for our lives. At first it was just missiles, we thought, and we could take our time packing. And then we heard gunfire, and it drove us out of the festival ground.
That raw violence physically so far away, but many say they can feel its effects in Toronto.
I think the last couple of days were the toughest in my whole life. While I am here safely in Toronto, all of my friends is out there.
While some are worried about those overseas, others who came to the rally tonight are worried about spillover violence, even here in North America.
We're also hearing fear from Jewish community members here because we're afraid of what's going to happen in Toronto in our own community.
To show support, members of other communities stepped up, and so did local politicians.
We must condemn this evil. We must speak plainly about what it is: heinous acts of terror, anti-Semitic attacks carried out by Hamas against Israel and the Jewish people.
Mayor Olivia Chow was booed tonight, forced to take down tweets over the weekend in support of Palestinians.
Let me be clear. I unequivocally condemn these brutal attacks.
I personally think now is not the time to boo each other. I think now more than ever we need unity, and any community that wants to come and support us, political or not, I think we should be supporting that.
Earlier today, there was really high security presence. That's gone now, and the roads have reopened. And as you can see behind me, there's some city workers, and they're just wrapping up. So the event is over.
All right, Anam Khan reporting live for us tonight from Mel Lastman Square. Thank you, Anam. And this was the scene in Ottawa tonight at another vigil, an emotional moment as the Israeli community came together. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was there expressing his support for Israel.
Hamas terrorists aren't a resistance. They're not freedom fighters. They are terrorists, and no one in Canada should be supporting them, much less celebrating them.
And as I was saying just a couple of moments ago, earlier today, Toronto's downtown was packed with yet more demonstrators, thousands gathering in support of Palestinians affected by the conflict in Gaza and Israel. Dale Manukduk has that part of our coverage tonight.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Beginning at Nathan Phillips Square and marching through downtown, more than 1,000 demonstrators took to the streets in a pro-Palestine rally and in support of the people of Gaza.
Israel controls their land, water, and air. And so what we're here today to affirm our people's continued resistance.
Today, Israel's defense minister ordered a complete siege of Gaza, cutting electricity and stopping entry of food, water, and fuel. It comes 2 days after Hamas violently entered into Israel. Hundreds have been killed on both sides, thousands injured. There was concern that the rally goers would be celebrating the death of innocent people.
This is not Hamas. At this moment, you're not distinguishing between Hamas and Palestine. This is the Palestinian people.
Us gathering here to celebrate the death of 700 Israelis, that's not the case why we're here. We're here to support the Palestinian cause. We're here to bring light to the fact that we have all been oppressed in Palestine, especially in Gaza, with all the borders and the restrictions.
Prior to the rally, councillors Brad Bradford and James Pasternak called for police and the city to prevent it.
The people of Canada have the right to lawfully protest and for free speech, so we don't have the authority to shut that down.
The rally was unsanctioned and without permit, but allowed to go on. The city's policy prohibits events at Nathan Phillips Square that promote discrimination and hate.
When we look at some of the rallies that have taken place in light of the Hamas terrorist attack on the people of Israel, in recent days, there has been an element of hate speech.
There was a heavy police presence at the rally, monitoring for anything that would cross the line from demonstration to criminality, including hateful behavior. A couple of counter-protesters did show up, but things remain peaceful. Police are not aware of any threats to Toronto's Jewish community. Neither is B'nai B'rith, but they remain on high alert.
There are powder keg moments, and we are very, very concerned from a security standpoint that these events could turn into powder kegs where individual members of the Jewish community could then be targeted.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
For the latest on what is happening and how it's affecting people here in the GTA, you can head to our website. That's at cbc.ca/Toronto. Moving on to other news, and we are closely watching tonight a looming deadline for Unifor and General Motors to strike a tentative deal. Unifor says if a deal is not reached tonight by midnight, strike action will start for 4,300 workers at the St. Catharines Powertrain Plant, the Oshawa Assembly Complex, and the Woodstock Parts Distribution Center. Among the key issues in the negotiations is transition to permanent employment. Now, last month, Unifor got a deal with 5,600 workers at Ford, one of the other major automakers. That included a general wage increase of 15% over 3 years. And Unifor said that agreement would provide the blueprint for future deals. Now, the union's president says they intend to continue bargaining with GM until the 11:59 deadline tonight. And we are, of course, watching this story very closely, and we'll bring you any updates as soon as they become available. Shifting now to an active police investigation, and officers say human remains have been found at Cherry Beach in Toronto. Police say around 10:20 this morning, someone passing by called them to report discovering what looked like human remains. At this point, police have not provided many more details other than to say that officers consider the incident suspicious. East now to Pickering, where a security guard at the Pickering Casino was shot and killed this morning. Police say they are hunting for multiple suspects believed to be involved in the shooting. Greg Ross has the latest.
Police were called at around 5 o'clock this morning after multiple shots were fired at the Pickering Casino.
Officers attended the scene. They located a male who was suffering from gunshot wounds. That male was transported to a trauma center, where he has unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. He has been identified as a 34-year-old security guard of the casino. Michael Ferdinand is his name.
It's not clear why Ferdinand was shot, but police say moments before it happened, he had an interaction with a group of people inside the casino.
So at this point, it does not appear to be targeted. The security guard was working. He was doing his job when he was involved with these individuals who in turn shot and killed him.
Police are now combing through security footage from multiple angles around the casino to get a better understanding of what happened and to identify those responsible.
We are looking for multiple males and females that are believed to be involved in this incident that did flee the casino immediately following the shooting. We are working with the casino, reviewing surveillance video.
Police are still trying to piece together what happened in the moments that led up to the shooting. They've already interviewed several witnesses, and they're asking anyone else who was in or around the casino this morning and may have seen something to come forward. Greg Ross, CBC News, Pickering.
Back in Toronto, and significant changes coming to the transit system. The TTC says it is reversing previous cuts to bus routes in an effort to get ridership back to pre-pandemic levels. As Ali Chiasson reports, some are reluctant to get too excited about the amped-up transit.
We've got some trust issues with the TTC.
It's like unreliable, especially with the buses. And especially with Line 2 sometimes, like, especially like in the north section of like how the TTC works, it can be like unreliable, but yeah, that's my opinion.
I don't want you to miss your bus now, so cheers.
Sometimes the TTC comes fast, sometimes it's slow. I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
There's been violence, cuts to service.
You take too long to get a bus. Sometimes 43 Express come down at the same time on the regular bus. You can get it.
It can be a little like disorganized. Sometimes you'll have so many buses come through and then not enough.
Yes.
Well, today the TTC has announced that it's restoring service to pre-pandemic levels. As of this weekend, more buses will run along 14 routes, and work will be done to improve the timing on 11 others. Transit advocacy organization Code Red says there's a long way to go, but it's a start.
Ridership is still much lower. We need to keep building up service outside peak hours and outside of the core so that everybody has that predictable, reliable, frequent mobility.
The city can budget for it this time, but McLeod says the funding must be consistent in order for the service to be consistent.
You know, where's the money coming from for these bus route changes? Honestly, it's because previous budgets planned for new rapid transit routes like the Line 5 Eglinton Crosstown and the Line 6 Finch West LRT. They were supposed to be open by now.
Since they're not running, that money can be put toward restoring service along the bus routes. But
when the Eglinton Crosstown finally opens, the money that's being used for these bus routes will be gone.
Staying in the now, the TTC is riding a wave of good news. Fares are easier to pay with just a tap of a debit or a credit card. Wi-Fi and cell service is starting to roll out in subway tunnels and on platforms. McLeod says today's news has to be more than just more good PR.
Really, it comes down to transit service that is reliable and frequent, and it goes where you need to go. And right now, we have transit service that is sometimes frequent, and sometimes reliable, and sometimes goes where you need to go. And we need to make some repairs around that. Funding needs to be something that the TTC can plan on based on a multi-year plan to build up that reliability and build up that service.
To build up transit trust as well.
So I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, you don't know what that looks like as far as like a reliable, consistent service.
Basically, yeah.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
8 degrees and cloudy this evening as we look live at Windsor. Colette Kennedy is here with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, about a 20-degree drop from this time last week.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I think the wheels kind of fell off, right? Weren't we doing the show from the rooftop because it was so mild last week? And here we are with daytime highs that look like this. At least, yes, some double digits, not so bad. Windsor, St. Catharines, 13, 14, you made it into the teens. But we are into this unsettled pattern. I'll be saying that a lot for a few more days yet, I'm afraid, as we have that area of low pressure to the north. I mean, it even meant some snowfall, Sudbury and North Bay. Elsewhere, we are at least talking about rainfall, but we've had the heavier amounts, especially in the lee of Georgian Bay. And some of this, yes, is lake effect rainfall that we get into. So off and on, those showers continue into our forecast. So maybe not quite as consistent through the overnight hours tonight, Ottawa, but a low of 6. The strong winds back off a little bit through the overnight, but Toronto, they're still at times gusting 30 to 40 kilometers an hour, scattered showers at 7, and Windsor 5 with those winds out of the west at 30 kilometers an hour. So how much longer are we in this unsettled pattern, Chris? All the answers when I come back.
All right, sounds good. We'll talk to you. Welcome back. Thousands of Thanksgiving meals were served at the Scott Mission dining room today.
Always a special time for us, and we're looking at getting over 500 people in today, and the numbers have increased dramatically. We've gone up to 300,000 plus meals, hot meals in a year. That's a jump of 109% jump in the last 2 years.
All the traditional staples, including turkey, mashed potatoes, and stuffing, were served. The Scott Mission is a Christian-based charity offering hot meals and many other services. Meanwhile, in Windsor, a group of queer community members wanted to make sure nobody ate alone tonight. They held a special dinner. Take a look.
Somebody showed up and you were excited.
There are a lot of people who are alone at this time of year and feeling very depressed about being alone at this time of year, whether they have unsupportive families, are new to the city, anything else like that. They can come in and have a meal, get some support, and see that they're loved and appreciated in our community.
So there are ways for them to get support while they're here. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So we've got PFLAG on site, Positive Pathways, Trans Wellness Ontario, Windsor Essex Pride Fest, and then we also will have representatives from Green Shield Pride Employee Resource Group as well. So they can talk to the individual leaders, see the supports that are out there and available for them now and in the future as well.
We have 3 seatings, and everybody just come in and enjoy themselves together and not be at home alone. Because at this time of the year, the holidays, this is our highest rate of suicides is coming into the holiday season now. So now it's like, you know what? Let's do something so people aren't having that stress on them, and that way they can be with other people in the community.
We want the positive support, people just coming in and showing love. With so much hate being shown towards the LGBT community in the last little bit, it's important to combat that with love.
Looking live at our nation's capital tonight, where it is raining and 8 degrees. And back to you, Colette. This unsettled weather that we are seeing, it's certainly shaping up to be the weather phrase of the week, hey?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. Unsettled pattern. That's the phrase I used. I'd like to park it, but we're going to be talking about that, not just, from this past weekend, but carrying on for a few days yet. So with this area of low pressure, we're into a deep trough. It just circulates counterclockwise, and bands of rain showers push around it. With the winds across the lakes, too, we get into the lake effect rain, and it's going to be a couple of days. I said I'd show you when things will improve, and I will. We'll get to that 5-day in just a moment. But do see that into Wednesday there. We were starting to see at least the clouds breaking up, so it starts to improve late on Wednesday, and that's your clue into Thursday. Things getting better. Still those breezy conditions, mostly with winds out of the west to southwest. They back off a little bit through the overnight, but still gusty through the day as we go into tomorrow. But that change in direction at least changes somewhat where those lake effect rains are falling. So some of the areas with the heavier amounts, certainly around Huntsville, with that risk as we move forward. And these are some of the areas where the rainfall warnings have been in place. Lesser amounts until you get to the St. Lawrence, and then they pick up there through the Ottawa Valley as well, kind of Wednesday until things taper off, looking at some more significant amounts. And then there's the temperatures, right? Tuesday, the high for Toronto will be 13. Last week, Tuesday, it was 30 degrees. Big differences. Wednesday, 15, kind of moderate into those mid-teens. But you see that improvement begins Wednesday, but really we feel it into Thursday, and then it's increasing cloudiness Friday, and next weekend, the next system moves in. So Windsor, do enjoy the break. There's still cloud cover and the risk of showers tomorrow, lighter amounts. Wednesday's kind of the nicer day of the week, and also then getting that next system coming in and bringing rain. And Ottawa, more on a pattern with the GTA, so looking at Thursday and Friday being your better days, but a couple of wet ones ahead. And also, Chris, sorry to say it, but this coming weekend too.
Yikes. All right. Finally tonight, so it certainly wasn't hot like last weekend. Maybe you spent part of the weekend outside, possibly even at a pumpkin patch. And as we push past Thanksgiving weekend and start looking ahead to Halloween, many spooky supporters are already looking for the perfect pumpkin. Here are some ideas for what you should be looking for.
Every single pumpkin is unique, just like you and I. So when you're looking at your pumpkin, first of all, think about what kind of design or carving you want to do. So do you want one that's kind of tall and skinny, or one that's short and wide? And then what color you want too, because there's so many different colors of pumpkins now as well. Once you start actually finding your pumpkin, you want to take a look around the whole entire thing. You want to look out for cuts and bruises. So if you see any cuts that are gone right through the pumpkin, put that one aside, because sadly that won't last till Halloween. If you do notice a small little bruise, maybe a dent that was put there by a rock, simply use some Vaseline and just kind of cover the hole, and then that will prevent any air getting inside and rotting the pumpkin out. And you also want to watch out for around the stem. So make sure the stem is sturdy, and sometimes the stem will crack off, but as long as it's not soft by where the stem is too, then that will still be okay. And again, Vaseline is your friend. And you want to keep it out of extreme heat and extreme cold. So don't put it right next to a heater. And if you have it outside, which you can certainly do, as we have lots of our pumpkins outside right now, you just want to keep an ear to the weather. And if you hear a frost, simply cover it. So cover it with an old blanket, or take it inside for that night as well.
I had no idea Vaseline was so helpful with pumpkins. All right, well, that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, and we'll see you then.